Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Kon-Tiki. Is the real-life story of the Kon-Tiki expedition of 1947, which was led by Thor Heyerdahl. I think that's how you say his name. He was an experimental innographer and inventor, and he was trying to prove with the Kon-Tiki expedition that people from South America came to Polynesia and settled, rather than what most people believed 1500 years ago from Asia settled in Polynesia. He feels like he has enough evidence and he's talked to locals, and no one will really believe his theories. So he builds a balsa raft, much like they did back in the day, supposedly through what he learned through these villagers, that they built a balsa raft and used the currents and made their way from South America in Peru to Polynesia. And so they decide they're going to build their own balsa raft the same way they did back in the day 1500 years ago, even though they have radios, and they go on this big expedition to kind of prove the theory that people from South America in Peru traveled 1500 years ago to Polynesia, and that's how the inhabitants of that island got there. And the film is pretty much centered around the Kon-Tiki expedition, which was also the basis of a documentary film that he was making at the time. You see him making the documentary at the time. This is back when documentaries were more into like doing wild expeditions. Early documentary film did that a lot. He did that and he won the Oscar for Best Documentary for it. It was the only time a Norwegian film has won an Oscar before. This film is nominated for this upcoming Oscars for Best Foreign Language Film. It is the first Norwegian film to be nominated for Best Foreign Film for both the Oscars and the Golden Globes, and it's also the most expensive Norwegian film ever made. It was actually the highest grossing Norwegian film of 2012, and I'm assuming the Kon-Tiki expedition is a lot more well known there than it is here, because I had never heard of it before, although I would like to see the documentary now. Kon-Tiki is a lot like an older studio film, meaning like from the 50s and the 60s. It's like an adventure film like Robinson Crusoe or Swiss Family Robinson. It has that feel to it, like a big studio epic. It's very much shot in a modern way. The New York they go to is very CG, and you can tell it's like done by a modern director and everything, but their treatment of the characters, I think, reminded me more of an older studio epic, and a studio epic that's not really going to go that deep into the psyche of people. It's more interested in the adventure. If you went to Blockbuster or something back in the day, it used to be action and adventure, and I feel like now it's just become action, and this is very much an adventure film. It's recapturing the adventure film in the old studio sense, and I really like that about it. Even the casting of the guy who plays Thor Heyerdahl, I'm gonna butcher this name, so I apologize, Paul Sorvin Valheim Hagen, I think that's how you say his name. He looks like a young Peter O'Toole, and he has very much an old studio style about him. Almost has a Boy Scout level enthusiasm to it. He's so wide-eyed. It works for it. Apparently, the real expedition didn't have quite as much squabbling among the crew, or at least according to what we know about the Kon-Tiki expedition. It really didn't have as much drama between the characters. Maybe that wouldn't have been as interesting as a film, or at least that's what the directors of this film thought. You know, even Argo has parts that are totally made up to make the film quote-unquote more interesting. That's why it's always called based on a true story. It's very glossy treatment of this story, but I still kind of like it in its kind of old studio glossiness. I think kind of works for it. I haven't seen an adventure film quite like this in quite a while that I actually enjoyed. Most of the time I find them boring and hammy. The cinematography might be great, they might have some great performances in them, but I'm just really not really into the film. And I got really into Kon-Tiki, and it really moves. A lot of adventure films get hindered down by so many of the details, especially if you're based on a true story. And I think this film is showing a lot of the details, but it's also knows how to keep a momentum about itself and keep itself entertaining. And it's like a good movie experience. Like if you don't care about Kon-Tiki, but you like old studio adventure films, I think you'd quite like this film just because the momentum behind it keeps it going. It didn't feel like 2 hours, honestly. You know, I got really into it. It went through very breezy. Sure, it might be glossy, it might not be accurate, but I think I saw a good film and a good adventure film, and you don't come across those quite that often. It's cool when they see a whale shark and when they have shark problems. Apparently all the real cool adventure stuff isn't made up, it's just the squabbles that are made up. Kon-Tiki might be a little pretentious, might be a little glossy. It's trying to make the story into like this big studio thing, but that's very much going along with how big studios made their movies. They change things. If you look at The Diary of Anne Frank, I don't think it was really like that, but they're studioing it up to make it more entertaining. And in a way, I think maybe these directors went a little off with the squabbles. I think that got a little annoying. But for the most part, I think this is a fairly good adventure film. I quite like this movie, and I like its kind of old studio glossy stoicism. So if you have seen Kon-Tiki and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to. She was sitting here this whole time. She was right there. The whole review. Hey. She hates this.